All right, meanwhile, Republicans are campaigning hard in South Carolina as they prepare for their debate, which will be hosted by CBS on Saturday.
In a town hall event earlier today, Marco Rubio hit Donald Trump once again for his use of profanity.
Even in our political culture, I teach my kids to be respectful. There are certain words you don't say. No matter what setting you're in, act with dignity and you know, hold yourself up. And then you turn on the TV, you have a leading presidential candidate saying profanity from a stage. Profanity from a stage. I mean, all these things undermine what we teach our children. Not to mention the movies and the music and everything else. So it's just so hard today to instill your values in your kids, particularly the values that they teach in our church.
Meanwhile, John Kasich hit Jeb Bush for negativity. Listen.
Because I want to have a good legacy. I mean, I'm worried about Jeb. It's all negative. How the heck can you sell negative? You know, I want to talk about what I'm for, my vision, my view, my positive. And if people don't like it, well, I wasn't going to cry if I didn't get out of New Hampshire, but I made it out, so there ain't no crying anymore. I made it, okay?
So he's not crying. What does he have to do to keep the momentum?
Well, South Carolina is a very different state for John Kasich than New Hampshire was. New Hampshire really favors the underdog. You're able to meet people one-on-one in those small kind of intimate venues. South Carolina is a much bigger state. The media markets play a significant role. You have to reach voters in big, massive groups, and so the on-air attacks will really come into play against him. He is trying to portray himself, as he calls himself, the Prince of Light, talking about positive campaigning, and that certainly worked in New Hampshire. South Carolina is a very different ball game. Negative attacks will be flying among all the candidates. We're already getting a taste of that, and it's only been 24 hours on the.
I want to ask you a question about Donald Trump, but before I do that, listening to Senator Rubio talking about music and movies and TV, I thought, like, going back to my childhood, the Tipper Gore, like, music makes everybody bad was done. Is that resonating today in 2016 with politicians, especially one as young as him?
So this is the interesting thing with Marco Rubio. He campaigns a lot as, you know, the fresh face, the new generation. He's talked a lot about, before this campaign, he has talked a lot about his hip hop, you know, his love for hip hop and rap and all of that, and the kind of the young cultural things. He's putting that aside now in this campaign. He's trying to appeal to religious conservatives in South Carolina and more, you know, establishment, mainstream Republicans as well. So he thinks that that kind of message will resonate. We saw a little taste of that in Iowa, and he did well with it. He'll carry it on to South Carolina, but I think his critics will start to point out the discrepancies there.
So it's probably one last thing he doesn't agree with President Obama with. He loves Kendrick Lamar. I'm sure Marco's like, I'm not into that. So Donald Trump now, he has to do well in South Carolina. The electorate there in South Carolina is closer in terms of the evangelicals in Iowa that Ted Cruz won to South Carolina. So is it going to be tough for him?
Well, I think actually Donald Trump has an advantage in South Carolina because it does favor kind of that brash style of politics in a way. And also the evangelicals play a key role in South Carolina, but so do those mainstream Republicans. And there's also a little bit of a populist strain that he can tap into. But the advantage that Trump has is, again, being kind of a national figure and being able to play in South Carolina, where it is a much bigger state, where the media really matters and helps form people's decisions. So he's well positioned there. We haven't seen any polling in South Carolina since the New Hampshire vote, so I'm really interested to see what the numbers are. But as we saw in New Hampshire, the polling held, so we'll see what the movement is like.
The Bush family has a positive history in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Is that going to help?
Former president's going out there.
I think it will certainly help, again, with that you know, establishment credential that he has in South Carolina that will play well. South Carolina, with the exception of 2012, has a history of picking the Republican nominee. Bush has made inroads with veterans who play a key role in the state. Also has Lindsey Graham, the senior senator, campaigning for him there. That should help. And again, of course, his family history. So he's looking to South Carolina as a place of redemption. So I do think he has to do well there to continue.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, we thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.